Hello everyone, we're on. It's GTV, it's the 17th of June 2011 and it's the early afternoon, and what are the topics for today's little bit? Well, it's very difficult to explain this. As everyone does, I encounter lots of information about lots of different subjects, and sometimes things make sense, sometimes they don't make sense, sometimes you have to join the dots between all the points to allow those things to make sense. When I originally started to make these little programs, I had the idea that they were going to be about education, but education seems to be about everything, because that's what learning is about. Learning is about learning as much as you can in the time that you have, and then sharing that with other people, allowing them to take that and develop and use that to the best of their ability, and trying to preserve that information for other people or maybe for future generations. It starts with an educational perspective. I'm going to try and lead somewhere. I never seem to get where I want to go, but I'm trying to journey in the right direction, so I think that's what's important. We need to start today with a man called Rudolf Steiner, who perhaps if those who work in education have come across his name before. Maybe if you're a teacher in a school, you're aware of something called the Steiner School, which is a special type of school that exists in some areas of the world. I believe there are around 1,000 special schools like that. And we're going to try and bring it up to date to something that happened 2 or 3 days ago. I saw some posts, thought they were interesting, thought I'd check them out, and it led me down a path towards Steiner, who is important from an educational perspective in many ways, in many subjects. So let's just dive in. We're going to go through a little bit of biography of Steiner here. So you've got to bear with me, and we'll try and get somewhere with all of this. Rudolf Joseph Florence Steiner, born 1861 in Donjai Kraljevec, Kingdom of Hungary in the Austrian Empire, now Croatia. Died 30th of March 1925 in Switzerland, where he had built a school and various other business interests. He was an Austrian philosopher, social thinker, architect, and esotericist. He gained initial recognition as a literary critic and cultural philosopher. At the beginning of the 20th century, he founded a spiritual movement, anthroposophy, as an esoteric philosophy growing out of European transcendentalism. Get that as a word, which links with theosophy. Steiner advocated a form of ethical individualism to which he later brought a more explicitly spiritual component. He based his epistemology on Johann Wolfgang Goethe's worldview, in which thinking is no more and no less an organ of perception than the eye or ear. Just as the eye perceives colors and the ear sounds, so thinking perceives ideas. Agree or disagree as your will. We're looking at Steiner's perspective here. In 1899, Steiner published an article in his magazine Für Literatur titled Goethe's Secret Revelation on the esoteric nature of Goethe's fairy tale. Is it Goethe or Goethe? Goethe, probably. The Green Snake and the Beautiful Lily. This article led to an invitation by the Count and Countess Brockdorff to speak at the gathering of theosophists on the subject of Nietzsche. Steiner continued speaking regularly, and so on and so on and so on. Why am I reading this? I'm reading this to get to the point. He's continued speaking regularly to members of the I can't say it, Theosophical Society. And it was within this society that he met and worked with Marie von Sievers, who became his second wife in 1914. By 1904, Steiner was appointed by Annie Besant. Now take note of that name. Those who understand the esoteric nature of things will realize the importance of this, to be a leader of the Theosophical Esoteric Society for Germany and Austria. Don't underestimate the importance of that organization around that time. Skipping several points. After the First World War, Steiner became active in a variety of cultural contexts. He founded a school known as the Waldorf School in Stuttgart, then in Weimar, Germany, which later evolved into a worldwide school network. The agricultural system he founded, known as the biodynamic agriculture, was one of the initial forms of and has contributed significantly to the development of modern organic farming. His work in medicine has led to the development of a broad range of contemporary medications and supportive artistic and biographic therapies. So we're looking here at a man who had a worldview. We're looking at a man who saw the interconnectedness of each element of life. And I imagine that was where the school came into things, because the school is essentially a connected series of a group of elemental subjects which should have cross-curricular developments within them, but very often they don't. That's the nature of schools. That's a little bit of history on Steiner. It's a little bit too much, I think, but we need that to understand the next point that I want to make here. We have here some quotes from Steiner. The first quote comes from an original lecture by Steiner entitled Fall of the Spirits of Darkness, given in 1917. The whole trend goes in a direction where a way will finally be found to vaccinate bodies so that these bodies will not allow the inclination towards spiritual ideas to develop, and all their lives people will believe only in the physical world they perceive with their senses. I'll read that again. All their lives people will believe only in the physical world they perceive with their senses. Out of impulses which the medical profession gained from presumption, from the consumption they themselves suffered, people are now vaccinated against consumption. And in the same way, they will be vaccinated against any inclination towards spirituality. This is merely to give you a particularly striking example of many things which will come in the near and more distant future in this field. The aim being to bring confusion into the impulses which want to stream down to earth after the victory of the spirits of light. You can't underestimate the fundamental importance of this, especially his vision of the use of vaccinations in the near and more distant future in order to control ideas. And this was known by people within that field of work, within that area of study at that point in time. And we're talking 1917. We're talking 100 years ago. And don't try and tell me things haven't advanced in the last 100 years. Our second quote here comes from Lecture 3, The Secret Brotherhood and Mystery of the Human Double, 7 lectures series by Rudolf Steiner. A longing will arise and become general opinion. Whatever is spiritual, whatever is of the spirit, is nonsense, or is madness. Endeavours to achieve this will be made by bringing out remedies to be administered by inoculation, just as inoculations have been developed as a protection against diseases. Only these inoculations will influence the human body in a way that will make it refuse to give a home to the spiritual inclinations of the soul. People will be inoculated against the inclination to entertain spiritual ideas. Endeavours in this direction will be made. Inoculations will be tested that already in childhood will make people lose any urge for spiritual life. In essence, they will become pure animals. I'm adding that last part there. The man will then essentially cease to be man. Added that as well. Here's another little quote which might be interesting. In a book review in 2010, Bobby Matherney made more comments about Steiner's statements on vaccinations. Rudolf Steiner warns us of a vaccination, an anti-religious vaccination, which will inoculate us against having a soul, an anti-spiritual vaccine, which will ensure the success of the dark spirits in completely materializing many as human beings. Hasn't that already happened? This warning came almost 100 years ago. Perhaps that vaccine already exists and is affecting our children and young adults today. Please question everything. Here we have a quote from a Steiner book. I have the page number, 199, 200, but I don't have the name of the book right here. I'll try to find it and post it. Steiner states, I have told you that the spirits of darkness are going to inspire their human hosts, in whom they will be dwelling, to find a vaccine that will drive all inclination towards spiritually out of people's souls when they are very young. And this will happen in a roundabout way through the living body. Today, bodies are vaccinated against one thing and another. In future, children will be vaccinated with a substance which it will certainly be possible to produce, and this will make them immune, so they do not develop foolish inclinations connected with spiritual life. Foolish here, of course, in the eyes of the materialists, the real materialists, the true materialists. Now, why are these statements by Steiner important today? They're important today as not only was a recent paper published that describes how genetic engineering can be used to enhance or reduce spirituality, but a young man by the name of Joey Lombardi recently produced and released a short video. This video was taken in the Pentagon. This is of course, the American military administrative building. Interesting that it should be a Pentagon. This presentation, which I will post a link to, contains information about a new vaccination to be called Funvax. What an Orwellian name, Funvax. Vaccinations are fun. Get your shot. And there was a song, I'm going to post that. There was a song recently as well for children about making sure they get their shots. Anyway, what's the point? I'm running out of time. I've got 30 seconds. The point is, Funvax means a vaccination against fundamentalism. This means it goes into the brain and it turns off the part of the brain, because that's what vaccinations do. They turn off parts of the brain. It turns off the part of the brain that relates the human mind to elements of religion and spirituality. And the international pharmaceutical companies are now suggesting that this is the way to progress in the future. It is to alter human behavior. It is to create a new human. I'll post some links. Think about it.